Good morning. So today I am building slash reinforcing an aquarium stand for two 75-gallon tanks. I recently had an incident. I moved these two tanks. There was a tank here and a tank above. I moved them over to this side of the room and I didn't check on them. I normally use these pucks here that I made, these clear pucks, to support the corners and level the tank. But when I first put it in place, it was level, and then I guess this corner started to sink from all the weight. It's 1,200 pounds, I understand, and the aquarium let loose. So I came home to 75 gallons of water on the floor, and the floor was ruined. This is the subfloor that was under the existing floor that I had to rip up. And then this is what's left of my plants and maybe 3 or 4 of the hundreds of fish that were in there that I'm trying to save. So instead of dealing with spacer pucks and leveling it that way, what I want to do is I want to make a frame base that's strong enough that no matter what the floor does or how it moves or how unlevel it is, it will on its own support the about 1,200 pounds of water on it without distorting or bending or shifting. So that's the plan for today. We'll see how it goes. I have a second stand here that's the same as this double layer stand over here. I'm going to be using this 2x3 14 gauge square tubing, same that I made my truck bed flatbed out of, and I'm going to be using that to reinforce this lower structure. Kind of going to do it in the same pattern that it is here, and hopefully it'll be strong enough on its own to support the weight. I'm sure there's some calculations I can do with the diameter and thickness and all that kind of stuff like that, but I am just going to weld this up and see what happens. Absolute worst case scenario, I can go back to shimming it, and likely what it'll result in me making the full frame. Instead of just making the bottom, I'll be making the full frame to make it strong at the sport. I really don't want to ever have to go through this again, so this is my move forward. Hey, I've got a welder. I got no skills, so I might as well just do it. First step is to go pick up some steel. Always a good day when you can come look at the scrap metal. See what we can find. They always got the best stuff. Look at this DeWalt saw. You think DeWalt makes stuff like that anymore? Probably don't. How about a finger chopper deluxe, 5,000. Good luck trying to move it. All right, I got my 2 sections here. My square tubing, get it strapped down, get it back to the house. That's not going anywhere. Alright, I got some of my tools together. I'm gonna get started here. The plan is, I have no plan. Really, this is what supports the rest of the stand, the vertical tubes lock in here and go up to the top. So I'm going to take these off. I'm going to rebuild this inner frame here instead of this thin wall with this thicker wall, and then cut and weld these back on. So I'm going to measure, cut it up, see what I can do. The biggest issue is going to be I have no real way to keep anything square. Everything I have is some kind of off center or off thing, so I'm going to do the best I can to keep this square, because that's the whole purpose of this, and see what I can pull together. Here we go. Alright, I got these pieces cut out. They actually came out pretty square. Very happy with it. Considering I'm just kind of measuring and freehanding it. It's coming together pretty good. So, gotta clean up these edges. Try to square this up as best as possible, and next step will be to get some tack welds on these and see if I can get this thing as square as possible. Alright, I got this laid out. I got it squared up as best I can. I got the edges cleaned up. I'm gonna use some of these scrap pieces to test on to try to get the welder dialed in. I'm gonna use the gasless MIG again this time. See what we can do. I got a couple gaps that I'll have to work with. I'm not really concerned. I can always just follow the inside edge there. So yeah, I'll do some test runs, and then when I feel comfortable with my settings, I'm gonna go ahead and start welding this up. Alright, there we go. We're all welded up. You can see how you gonna focus? How I started off a little rough in there, and as time went on with the welds, I started to get a little better. Inside corners are really hard to get to. And on these outsides here, let me change this. There we go. I started to get a little better with it. I'm battling a cheap welder and no skills. Don't mind that little booger there. But it's square. Confident it's gonna hold up to the weight. So next step is, man, I gotta grind all these welds down. I gotta hit this thing with the Flap Attack 5000 and get all this mill scale off of it so I can get it ready for paint. So I think tonight I'll do some grinding so I can look at the welds and see if anything needs to be really cleaned up. And then tomorrow I'll sand the whole thing and get it primered, hang it up, primer, and then get it ready for paint. Alright, here we are. I put the, that's the tank that failed, and then another tank that I had before that I tried to modify and broke. But there's the stand, there's the edges. I think that maybe I might add an extra brace to the back here. This old piece that might go in there just to get this a little bit more solid in there. The only problem with doing it that way is I won't be able to, if I weld that in, it won't be able to break down anymore. It'll be just kind of a solid piece. As it is right now, it kind of breaks down flat still. But yeah, I'm gonna fill it with water and see where it's at. It's not perfectly level, so I'm gonna
make some adjustments to it and see what I can do about getting it as perfect as I can get it. It's close enough now that the tanks will definitely take it, but I'm going this far. I'm gonna try to get as close as possible. But yeah, we'll get it cleaned up, get it painted, and get it set up inside.
Well, there she is, set back up and running. Everything came together pretty good. I used the sides that I previously had with the boards that were reinforced there, so everything's nice and stable. I got the rocks and what plants I could save back in the aquarium. I'll have a lot of aquascaping and cleaning up to do here. Just waiting to see what the how much of the plants are going to melt back and where everything ends up, and we'll go from there and take those small steps moving forward. You can already see some of these already starting to melt back pretty hard, but to be expected after all what happened. So yeah, happy with how it came out. Time will tell how it's going to hold out, and next step will be to make a second one, because this guy here is going to have to move into a much bigger tank. He's outgrowing his space fast, so 75 gallon next for him on a second stand. And then eventually I'll have to fix these floors that I ruined. So there it is. That's what she's got.